On this episode, we check back in with Stu Jay Raj about Thai vowels and some of the hacks he's developed to make them stick.
Does Thai language drive you crazy? Does it seem like some alien tongue? Then you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who followed a friend to Thailand in 2001, and when he went back home, I just kind of didn't.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract about 18 years ago.
So if you are asking yourself, listener, how can I get even more Bangkok Podcast in your life? Oh man, is it ever easy? You can become a patron. Now, you might not know this, but we actually record 2 shows every week. The regular show, which you're listening to right now, and the bonus show, where Ed and I go off on various Bangkok-centric topics that have piqued our interest that week. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about the slightly naughty side of Sukhumvit Soi 33, Pattaya, and its importance to expats in Bangkok. And finally, the sad and skeezy Pat Pong.
Skeezy, what a word.
Yeah.
The bonus episodes are fun to record. They're uncensored, unscripted, more casual than our regular show. So to get that delivered to your podcast player every week, just head over to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast, or just hit the support tab on our website at bangkokpodcast.com.
Yeah, and just a note, too, we don't always talk about the skeezy side of things in red light districts. It's just that's what happened to be the topic this week.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. So before we jump into it, Ed, have I told you about my new best friend?
I don't think you have.
Well, my new best friend, his name is Mike M., and he left us a review, a 5-star review, where he said this, quote, "Fantastic. Love listening to these guys. It's a must for any expat in Bangkok. So thanks, Mike. You are my new best friend, and I appreciate the review, buddy."
You know, I can't say he's my new best friend, but I can say that he seems like an obviously intelligent man.
Intelligent, handsome, smells like cookies, I hear.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Right on. Thanks, Mike. So on this episode, we are super lucky to have our friend Stu Jay Raj back as a guest. Now, besides being a cool and funny guy, Stu is a noted linguist who speaks over a dozen languages and helps clumsy Farangs like myself understand Thai by using some unique and very effective methods he developed on his own. So I wanted to have him on to talk about Thai vowels, but as you'll hear, we got into some other interesting areas of the Thai language too. So let's go over to my interview with Mr. Stu.
สถานีต่อไปเพลินจิต Next station เพลินจิต
Well, Stu Jay Raj, welcome back to the Bangkok Podcast. We're glad you agreed to come on again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and hopefully expand the Thai horizons of myself and the faithful Bangkok Podcast listeners. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor.
It goes both ways, my friend. Well, first of all, let's get the big news out of the way. Today, actually, as of the day we're recording this, you met with Thailand's Prime Minister.
Oh, it was, I received a call about a week ago, and it was from Chulalongkorn University. They have a language institute there called the Sirinthorn Language Institute. And a couple of years ago, in order to get a government contract, I needed to go through and do a proficiency exam and get to a level in my Thai. And so they just gave me a call and they said, "Oh, we're meeting the Prime Minister today and we want to talk about our proficiency exam. Would you like to be somebody who speaks to him about it and even do a sample test?" And so today I had the honor of administering a proficiency exam for the Thai language to our Prime Minister.
And how did he do?
He did very well. Actually, he got one wrong. But it was, I think it was a trick question.
Okay. He didn't yell at you or anything, did he?
No. His speaking has a certain je ne sais quoi about it. So
career military men know how to get the point across.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, that's pretty cool and something to put on your resume for sure. So you're definitely the right person to talk to about Thai language. And before we roll into this week's topic that I want to talk in a bit more detail, which is vowels. I read a word today that I had never seen or heard or read before, and I'm wondering if you can tell me about it. And I'm going to pronounce it wrong, I know, but is it abugida?
Abugida.
Abugida.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I read something that said that the Thai language is abugida.
Yeah.
So can you, what's going on with that?
Okay. In English, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right.
Or as the Sesame Street song goes, you say them all together. But actually, there's no logical reason why those sounds are in that order.
Okay.
So, however, Thai, based on this Indic map of the human mouth, uses an abugida where it uses this map of the mouth pinpointing points of the mouth. So you have the back of the mouth, you have the palate, the palate, so all those kinds of sounds. You have the roof of the mouth, you have the tongue on the teeth, which is all your T kind of sounds, and then you have your lips. Okay, so you got these 5 main points of the mouth, and then rather than having A, B, C, D, where all your vowels and consonants are thrown in together, like in my CTF series, almost hypnotic, I say consonants and vowels are different species. Vowels breathe life into consonants. So think of consonant in this sense is a little pellet with no body in each of those positions of the mouth, with each of the actions. And the only way that they can have life breathed into them is through the vowel, which is clipped onto it. So that's the fundamental difference in that in an alphabet like we have consonants, vowels, they're all letters and sounds, and they're higgledy-piggledy in this kind of order, and you spell words out that way. But in an abugida, you have consonant, sort of these little seeds, and you have vowels that clip onto them, and they form blocks of sound. So it's the whole system. So in English, we spell using letters. Now,
okay.
Yeah, so cat, C-A-T. But it's interesting. Why, if I said C-A-T-E to you, how would you pronounce that?
Kate.
So that's really weird. Your mind has, some people might think we spell cat, but actually, when the E is applied there, your brain puts a little formula, an algorithm on that, and
okay.
the same things that actually happen in Thai when you see these vowel frames. So yeah, even though English isn't an abugida, we can start to relate to some principles if you stretch the imagination a little.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I can delve into that a little bit further, and something else to wrap my mind around. Like I need anything more. One of the first things that I had to wrap my mind around, actually, when I started learning Thai many, many years ago, was the vowels. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 15 vowel symbols and 28 vowel forms in the Thai language. Is that right?
Can I ask you, how many keys does your computer keyboard have?
You got me. More than 26, I know that.
Right, but does it matter? It's more about the keyboard and what you can do with your...
Okay.
And this is the same
Fair enough.
with vowels, and it's the same with consonants. I can... And it's really sad the way that Thai... We actually spoke about it today at the event that the Prime Minister was at.
Oh, you mean the event with you and the Prime Minister hanging out?
Yeah, like we were speaking to it before with the people from the university, but the way that not only foreigners but Thais learn Thai and how to read and write, because there's this beautiful. There's actually nothing mysterious about the Thai language. It's this beautiful, symmetrical, perfectly sensical system. But what happens is that this beautiful system, that picture of it in sort of 2D, it's been spliced up into little strips and stretched out and then then shuffled. As far as the vowels are concerned, you remember, can I explain a little bit about them that might put some light on them?
Well, sure. That's the next question I was going to ask is why does it have so many vowels?
Okay, well, one, please, whether it's vowels or consonants, stop counting them right now.
Okay.
Counting them isn't going to do anything. It's like counting the number of keys on your keyboard on the computer. It's not really useful for anything. But understand the system. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of things. We have 4 basic vowels, vowel points in your mouth. Say this with me: a, e, u.
A, u, I, u.
Okay, now think about those sounds as you're saying it, and where are they coming from in your mouth? I, u.
Slightly different places.
Okay.
The back, the front, the top, the tongue.
Yeah, so watch this. It's the back of the throat. It's kind of the back top of the mouth. I, it's the front top of the mouth. U, the lips.
Okay.
Now, as I say those 4 points in the mouth, those 4 vowels, I want you to picture a big red flashing light in those points of the mouth. Ready? A, I, U. Okay, so it's almost like one of those Christmas lights, neon light, sliding from the back of the mouth to the front of the mouth.
Got it.
So you got these 4 sounds. Now, simple we have in Thai. Most people might learn short vowels, long vowels, but actually we're going to make a 4x4 grid. You've got short, long, stretchy, shrinky.
Okay. Are these dwarves from the Snow White? Or are they...
It's off to work we go. I'll show you what I mean. Now, this is our base one. So we're just going to have short and long, but we'll do it for all 4. So short, long, stretchy, shrinky in this position. So you notice those. I just keep it there just to fill those places. But so the stretchy and shrinky, it just stays there. Okay?
Okay.
But now let's look at this. Okay? Of course, that's short. Is the long version.
Okay.
Stretchy. Okay, so you'll notice that your mouth opens at the end of it. It stretches.
Right, and all the veins on my neck pop out like some kind of weirdo.
Right, so say it again. So your mouth goes from closed position to open position.
Yeah.
And we have the inverse of that.
Oh, that's unusual to say.
Now it is, but if you were in Chiang Mai or in Luang Prabang in Laos, you know the letter Mai Muon, the Sala I that we have, the Rolly I in Thai?
Yeah.
Actually should sound. But many years ago in Bangkok, they actually pronounced it the wrong way, which just happens to be the standard Thai now. So traditionally, any word that you saw that Mai Muon with the Rolly I sound, it was pronounced Au. Even now in Chiang Mai or in Luang Prabang, the word Hai, they'll call it Hau.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. Originally, it was a different sound, but now it's both I. So this I, which used to be au. Now let's look at the E. We've got the short, long, stretchy, shrinky. So I.
Okay.
You see that? So is the stretchy, and I is the that just swapped around, and your mouth contracts instead. So I from open to close.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then the last one is O. So the lips, front of the mouth. Ow, right? And that's basically almost all of the vowels. It's this 4x4, short, long, stretchy, shrinky. So I'll say it again. Which is I. I. Ow.
Okay.
And then look at this. And so we've got our from the beginning, and then you have open versions. So the open throat version of is the open version of because when you say you can feel your mouth tense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I
throat constricts.
So if I don't constrict my throat, it becomes So is this open version of
Okay, got it.
And now open my throat again, it becomes a. And then if I open my o, becomes o. Okay, so basically, and that's all of the vowels of the Thai language.
Okay, but there seems to be much more written than there are pronounced.
Just by adding it, it's like in English, is W a vowel or is W a consonant?
It's a consonant,
well,
right?
Or is it? Is Y a vowel? And the Indians, they are knowing, no, is it a vowel, a consonant, semi-vowels. And so they're semi-vowels, and in the abugida, whether it's in Indic languages or in Thai or Khmer, these are all the ya, ra, la, wa are all considered semi-vowels. And so these are the things that bump up the numbers of vowels too, because you'll have these vowel frames that we just went through, that the short, long, stretchy, shrinky, and then they'll put a w on the end, which is a wawan, or they'll put a y at the end. And it gives a whole lot of other vowels. But actually what we just went through in this 4x4 grid, and then the open forms of them, they're all of the base vowel sounds that you'll have in Thai, and the shapes.
Okay, so there's a very limited number of base forms of vowels. It's just the sort of slight modifications of them that causes people to say that Thai has many dozens of vowels.
Yeah, and so to me, honestly, it's like counting, how many dots do you have on your Speedo? How many dashes do you have on your Speedo? How many keys do you have on your keyboard? It's not really relevant as long as you understand the system and you know how to use the system. And which one, you look at your Speedo, you're going through a 60 zone. Okay, you need to look in that area of 60. If you're listening to know where it fits in on this pattern, and likewise, if you've ever done any of my stuff, you'll see that there's this same map for the consonants from the same mouth. Just if you know the system, you don't need to count them, and you could have a gumboot representing one of the sounds or whatever. Just as long as you understand the system, the actual symbols that represent them are secondary.
Really, but they are important.
They can be, but I've found to learn an abugida once, because all of the abugidas fall on this system, especially the TAI, Thai languages, and Chinese, and even Korean if you're using these abugidas. But once you understand the system, you find putting the symbols to it actually becomes a lot faster.
So when linguists talk about vowels, then like in English, we have Y, which is sometimes a vowel and sometimes not. And everyone learns that when they're a kid. Now, and the Thai equivalent of that I know is Aang. But are there any others of these sort of flexible consonant vowel things?
Okay, again, now let's shift our minds again. What is Aang? When you think of Aang, I want you to think of because Aang, for those who don't know, it's this sort of round shape it's like a circle with a notch cut out of it. Right. So I want you to picture one of these Karen Hill tribe ladies with the rings on their neck. Okay.
Got it.
Now those rings are actually Aang. What Aang is a representation of the base throat position. This is why you clip all the vowel frames onto that if there's no consonant. So if you want to write the word ow, you get the ow vowel and clip it onto an Aang because it represents the open throat.
Right, because in Thai, if you don't know, listener, if you're writing a word and you only want to write the vowel sound, the placeholder that you use is the Aang. So it's sort of like this empty thing that the vowels attach themselves to, but doesn't have a sound in and of itself in that context.
Correct, because consonant vowels are different species. Vowels breathe into consonants. Well, what if there is no consonant? Well, you've got to clip it onto the throat, and that's the Aang, the role of Aang.
Right.
And that's why when you stick two Aangs together, the base sound is Ah.
Right, like tongue ok.
Yeah, tongue ok. That's just the base sound of the throat.
Are there any other letters like that in Thai, or is that sort of a unique one?
No, well this is the base sound for the base throat sound. But don't think of it as a single sound. Think of it as a symbol representing the open throat.
All right.
Now, one little thing though is that because it does represent the throat. You'll hear of middle class, high class, and low class consonants. And you'll know that there are 4 words in Thai that has Aang as this first silent letter. And that's because, like the word ya, meaning to want, ya, don't. What are the other? Yo, to be at in a position, and yang, a type of. These 4 words are done. The reason why the Aang was there is because they originally that throaty position means to say it with the throat closed at the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that which made it a middle class, because middle class letters, gawkai, anything with gawkai, tautan, any of these middle class letters, middle class literally means your throat is closed. It's an unaspirated sound. They're all rated.
Sounds like a Sprite commercial.
Yeah, so ba da ja ga ba da ah. These notes closed.
Well, that's interesting that Thai has that written character to sort of instigate the reader to put their throat or mouth in a certain position.
Yeah,
it's an unusual way to think of languages, because when you read a native language, you just read the word and make the sound. But it's unusual to think of a letter or a symbol telling you how to move or shape your throat or mouth.
Brilliant. And that's why you have hōhip also masking, because originally they were aspirated. They had this wind puffed over the letters. Now, here's a bit of trivia given the o'ang. There's another word written in Thai that uses o'ang in the beginning, followed by a consonant. How do you say delicious in Thai?
Aroy.
Right. And did you know that this word is a mispronunciation of how it should be pronounced?
Really?
Yeah, and if you go to the south, they actually pronounce it the way it should be pronounced. Originally, it was roi. It's a ra or ra with the throat closed immediately, so it's loi. And so if you go to the south, I'll say loi loi, meaning delicious.
Really?
Yeah, but because of that throat, they're pushing it down, and eventually it got this thrown in the beginning, becomes aroi. But originally, it's actually roi. With the throat,
Roi.
beginning of the ra. Yeah, there's a little bit of trivia for you.
Well, that's really interesting. So I know that there are several Thai words, usually official words or old words that are still in use, that include consonants that are hardly ever used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't think of any vowels like that. Are there any vowels that have sort of been pushed aside by the evolution of the language?
Thai, and the reason why those are obsolete or not used are because they're letters that were traditionally used in Sanskrit, Pali. Now, one thing, you might know the letters r, so in the word Angkrit for English, right? That letter, when you know, it's kind of like a possum power with a long tail.
Right, it goes down below the level of the writing.
Right, so those actually in Sanskrit are vowels, and probably should be in the abugida classed as vowels, not consonants. So those are and you know that there's no words that you'll see with the but they're there on your keyboard.
Yeah,
apart from the in Angkrit. You will never see them. And these were actually the rolly tongue, these kinds of sounds that just don't exist in Thai. So they said, okay, we give you a letter, but we no say.
We no say. Well, let me ask you another question then. Why don't they just get rid of these old letters that are hardly ever used and replace them with ones that are?
Very interesting. You should say that. That's exactly what happened in Laos. Then you have another problem. For example, we have word in Thai, we have gan, okay? Say this sound here. But we have one spelled go-a-lo, so, gan from gala. We have gan go-a-no. We have gan go-a-ro, gan. So even though you pronounce it identically, as soon as you see the spelling, you'll have like 7-8 different meanings of the word gan, depending how it's spelled, and you know exactly where it's come from, and by the spelling what the meaning is. Now, a problem arises in Laos where they have actually gone through, and all of the letters and silent letters and everything, they've gotten rid of them, and they spell everything perfectly phonetically. And so now there are like 7 different words that all have the same spelling and pronounce the same, and so many people don't realize they're actually different words, and they might misuse words.
Oh, okay. So actually keeping these old placeholder letters, these ancient letters, actually maintains the, the original structure of the words and prevents confusion.
Right.
Wow, that's a great answer to a question I hear a lot. So now I know.
Yeah, so a lot of people say, why don't you just spell it phonetically? Well, you could, and you'd probably be happy in Lao. But for me, and I love looking at you just look at the spelling, you know instantly what it means. And there's such a rich history in every spelling of every word.
Right. Well, that sort of brings me to a tangent question. Say you went to a library, Stu Jay Raj, you went to a library, and there was a book going back that say the same book and that was printed every 25 years in Thai. How far back would you have to go before you wouldn't be able to read it?
I've got some really, really old Thai books, and I can read them. And I actually read stuff in the Lana script.
Okay.
Once because it's a one-to-one thing for the letters with the Lana script, and you can understand what they're writing. So yeah, there might be some older words and everything. Now, an interesting thing though, in the Ayutthaya period, at the same time as the Sukhothai, so the what we call Thai letters, they actually had what was called the Khom Thai, so the Cambodian alphabet.
Okay.
That were used to write Thai as well. So if you go into the temples and everything, or anything high, or in the palace, actually, Khom, because at that time you had Lopburi and Khmer forming the populace in the palace because of marriage. So Khmer, it was actually, there's studies out that say that it was a bilingual situation. And so you had a lot of Thai written in the Khom script. And this is why in Rajasap, in royal language, you'll find a lot of Khmer in there. So depending what you read, also would have a different weighting of Khom words, or Khmer words, or Sanskrit, these Sanskrit words, or Thai words. And you even had a Mon script that was used to write Thai as well, and then you'd have influences from there too. So it depends where it's from as well. But the Thai that we know it today, and with all its modernity, is actually quite modern. However, you see these lakan on TV, and they go back and they try and they'll put on more of a Bolan speak. So most Thais get it when you're speaking in this more old-fashioned way.
Oh, okay. It's really interesting talking to you, Stu. Every time I talk to you, I come away with like a new appreciation to how limited English is and how limited our knowledge of English is. I mean, when I say our, I mean it's your average native speaker. And it's really interesting hearing about how there's no easy answers to languages when you sort of get into the deeper questions about them. Like that question would be, how far back would you have to go until you could stop reading English? And okay, maybe Chaucer. I couldn't read Chaucer in his original English, but we don't have things like special words and special alphabets and things used in certain situations. So right. It's fascinating to learn that there's just so much more out there to dig into.
If you want to go those hundreds of years, you can just buy a 6,000 baht plane ticket up to Kunming.
Into China.
Yeah, and go to Sipsong Bana, Shishuang Bana, and you will hear them speak very close to how it was spoken hundreds of years ago.
Really?
Yeah. So you can actually go there and listen to it now. And I actually had a discussion with somebody. There was a Chinese lady there too, who's also done her master's degree in Thai. So she speaks very good Thai. But she said in her class that she had people who speak the Zhuang language. And actually, this is like the language, not unlike the languages spoken hundreds of years ago in Thailand.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, Stu, thanks for coming on, man. It is always good to hear your insights, because they're, and I mean this in the best way, they're unusual, and they're not things that you hear in your average Thai class, which I think a lot of people probably appreciate. Because for me personally, like you always get me to think of things from a different angle. So
well, that's why I put my Cracking Thai Fundamentals together. Which, by the way, you can order from stujay.com if you're in Thailand, or Amazon. But yeah, I tried to just put all the questions that have been asked over the past 20 or so years, and tried to give answers to them, because there are answers.
Right. And I remember what you said. You said it on this show, and you said it on a previous show too. If you're in a Thai class and you ask the teacher a question and they say, just because, get out of that class, because there is a legitimate, realistic answer to any linguistic question around Thai, despite the fact that it doesn't always seem so.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So stujay.com, where else can they go to find out more about you?
So stujay.com, that you can get the book in Thailand, and also the online resources there. If you want the book outside, just Amazon, CreateSpace or Amazon, wherever you are. And as long as you're in like the Americas, Europe, I think Australia, they can mail it to you.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on again, my friend. We hope to have you back soon, and say hi to the Prime Minister for me.
Thanks, Greg. It's been a pleasure.
สถานีต่อไปเพลินจิต next station เพลินจิต
Yeah, always cool talking to Stu. Every time I talk to him, he always sort of gets me to look at Thai language a little bit differently than seems to be the norm. So
I hate him.
It's because he's so talented, right?
Yeah, any foreigner who speaks Thai well, I just hate.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, Stu's no spring chicken. Sorry, Stu, but so he's less hated than the other guys that I meet sometimes, like these 22-year-old guys with like a full head of hair and six-pack, and they're like, I've been in Thailand 6 months and I can read and write fluently.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
you're
blah, blah.
right. That is more annoying. Like the short time guys who just pick up Thai quickly. Although to be honest, there's not many of those guys. There's not many.
That's right. There's not many people like Stu too. Like you could say you hate him because he knows Thai so well, but the dude knows his stuff.
No doubt.
Like I've been out with him when he's tossing off Vietnamese and Chinese and English, and it's pretty impressive to watch. So
well, I'm being facetious, of course. He seems like a great guy. I just am jealous. I'm seriously jealous.
Yeah, I know. I'm just cloaking my jealousy and rage.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's so cool to have him on, and he'll come on again, I'm sure, to talk more about that stuff. So always learn something new when he's on, which is great. So let's get into it. Everyone's favorite segment of the Bangkok podcast, and that's, of course, Love, Loathe, or Leave, where one of us surprises the other with a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or hate so much that it makes us want to leave forever. And this weekend, it's over to you. What do you have?
Excellent. Well, our listeners who've been listening this season might already have picked up on the fact that I take 2 or 3 taxi rides every day, and I've been doing it for 17 or 18 years now. So I feel like I'm an expert in Thai taxi culture. So I'm going to drop another taxi question on you. So what's
Mr. Taxi? All right.
Yeah. What's your take, and how do you react to taxi drivers who don't have the proper change?
Instant loathe, man.
Instant loathe.
I hate it.
Well, there's two takes on this, and I'm curious where you fall, which side of the line you fall down on. Some of my friends insist that it's a scam and they're lying about the change in order to get more of a tip. What's your take on that?
I don't know. I'm sure there have been instances where the guys just happened to run out of change and didn't know. But like, I mean, without sounding like too much of a dick, it's your job to have change for your customers, right? It's like going into 7-Eleven and saying, "Sorry, we're out of change." Like, that's what you do. You give people rides and you give people change. So I've had that a couple of times, and the guy says, "Sorry, no hap." I give him like 100 baht and it's 40 or something, and I'm like, I'll make him drive to the near 7-Eleven.
Right.
Like, you're not getting any money until I get out and go into 7-Eleven. Like, he might be trying to scam me, and if he is, then he deserves to wait. He might not be trying to scam me, but even then, I don't think that deserves the 60 or 50 baht tip.
Yeah, I agree with the idea that it's his job. You know, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. Maybe you can come up with a clever name for this type of like showdown, but I feel like there's always that awkward moment where like he says he doesn't have the proper change, and it's like both of you are waiting to see like who's gonna snap first. Like, are you just gonna give him like a unusually large tip, or is he gonna or is he gonna snap and say, "Oh, I've got to get out of the cab and like go get change"? There's like you know what I mean? There's like a delay. There's like a showdown for a moment there.
That's interesting. The Thai gratuity face-off.
There is that's right. Okay, a gratuity face-off. I like that, and it really does depend on my mood. I mean, sometimes I'm tough like you, and I'm like, dude, if you don't have the change, I'm just going to get out. You know, like, I've got my money. Like, you don't have the change. You know.
Yeah. I've done that. Like, sorry, I got like, okay, bye. You know, like I give the guy 500 baht and it's a 60 baht cab ride. I'm like, well, you're not getting 400 baht in change.
Right. No doubt. You know? No doubt.
Yeah, so it's a solid loathe for me, and I'm sure that some drivers out there are victims of circumstance, but I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to paint you with the same brush here.
Yeah, you know, in a way, to drop a little economic type thinking on us, we need to create a disincentive for them to do that, which means, in a way, you should be a dick when they don't have change, because then they'll get better about it.
The gratuity face-off continues. The gratuity standoff.
That's great.
Right on.
All right, before we wrap up, I'd like to give a special thanks to all of our patrons who are listening now. As everyone knows, we don't run ads or have any official sponsors for the show, so we really, really, really appreciate it when we get support from our patrons. Any amount is a big help. And if you want to get in touch with us, we are at Bangkok Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, or you can send us a message via the contact form on bangkokpodcast.com, where we're usually pretty good at getting back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, you can also find us online, where we post each episode and carry on conversations with our listeners. And you can also reach out directly to me on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thank you for listening, folks. We appreciate it, and we will see you next week. Can you give me a testing 1, 2?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, very James Earl Jones.